October 11th if you are watching live. This is week 2 of the 12 weeks of Christmas. I have a special project for you. But before I go into the special project for week 2, I want to share with you the card class that I am prepping for today. I'm holding this class in person and virtually tomorrow. And these are the Christmas cards we are going to be creating. I think they're very pretty, very traditional with the pretty green, the pretty red. And there's lots of die cuts and lots of other little decorations on the cards. I call these simple cards. And the reason I call them simple cards is we are getting a head start on prep with this kit called Rustic Christmas Countdown Kit. So you can kind of see what's included. It's a countdown kit with lots of embellishments and all the kit that you need to create the countdown. However, we're not creating a countdown kit. We are creating the cards using the same materials. We get everything in the kit. There's the clips, which we won't be using on the cards, but I will have alternate projects to share. You get the die cuts, you get the twine, the embellishments, the adhesive, the bags, and for my class, they are getting the cardstock to create the cards, and we're making 2 of each, so we're making 8 cards, very traditional cards. And I want to mention there is a kit sale going on right now. This particular kit, you can see the Rustic Christmas Countdown Kit. It's on sale for only $17.10. There are other crafty kits, tag kits, also card kits are on sale. There are new card kits that have been around for a while, some that are no stamp. And look at that, just $12.60 on sale. Some that have a little bit of stamping. I had a friend at my cocktail and kit night using the City Sites kit to create tags. So if you are creative, you can think beyond just the kit designs and do other things with the kits. The sale goes through the end of October. 10% up to 30% on some kits. I also want to share with you this month's greetings card kit. This is my card kit of the month. It is in the mail. And this month we are focusing on the wintry treetops. I have my beautiful cards featuring that pretty stamps that I absolutely love, the birds. So in the card kit of the month, we create 4 cards and a 3D project. And you also receive the embellishments to complete your kits. You're going to get a share of the paper to create the cards, and you will get the twine. Now, I'm holding my breath because right now this twine is unavailable. I may need to substitute, but it will not affect the outcome of the project. So that is the Wintry Treetops Greetings Card Kit of the Month. I will put the link at the top of this video if you'd like to subscribe or register for that class. Registration ends on October 20th for a ship date of October 27th. And the class is $34 for everything I just mentioned. And if you need it shipped to you, it's an additional $9.50, I believe. I'll put the link at the top of the video for more information. All right, my friends, let's get started with today's week 2 project. It is a specialty card with the traditional look, and I have it in the envelope here so you can see this card folds flat for standard mailing. That's the standard envelope. I am using the Artful Amaryllis, and I laugh because my dear friend that I chat with about crafting all the time, we call it the Artful Armadillo, just because sometimes it's a tongue twister. So it's the Artful Amaryllis. It's a beautiful bundle. It stamps up beautifully, and today I'm making a specialty funfold that is freestanding. I love these freestanding cards because it gives the recipient the option of putting it on a desktop or a mantle to enjoy it for the season, or you can just hang it flat as well for beautiful display. So I'm going to talk about the papers and all the supplies as I go along. If you would like the written project sheet for this project, please make sure that you join my mailing list. The project sheet tutorial goes out within a couple of days. It takes me time to upload everything and download everything. It's just a little time consuming. So, but that does go out to all email subscribers. So you don't have to worry about writing down dimensions. You can get the tutorial sheet and have it all in front of you. So here is the Artful Amaryllis stamp set. It's two-step stamping, and it has distinctive stamps for the fill-in, and it's got some nice sentiments. So it does have a Christmas sentiment. That's what I'm using today, but it also has non-Christmas sentiments just for wintry cards. And I'm so excited because this is going to be my November card kit of the month in a non-Christmas design. And I'm partnering with a new to me demonstrator. And I'm just really excited about it. I think we've already got the start on our projects. I absolutely love them. And I think you will too. For today's project, I am using a sentiment from the Peaceful Season, which is a great sentiment stamp set for this year. And I'm also using the dies from the Spotlight on Nature. Just the dies, not the stamps. Those are my tools I'm using. And as I said, I will call out the materials as I go along. Let me get started here. I've got my little envelope with all my cardstock, which I pre-cut just to get us going. I will be stamping and die cutting. Hello, Debbie. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited for this wonderful Friday. The start of the weekend. It's an exciting start of the weekend. All right, so here we go. The supplies we will need for this project, I've got my inks off to the side. I think you can see I'm using Pebbled Path, Real Red, and Old Olive, so I'm all set up with that. You can also see the project sheet I'm going to be emailing out, and you can see my project right there on the front. Okay, so the designer series paper, also known as pattern paper, that I'm using. Here are the pieces I'm using, and this comes from the Season of Green and Gold 12 by 12 designer series paper. I love these. I'm not sure where to hold it. I love these little twinkling stars. There's the flip side. Always beautiful two-sided paper. No, I shouldn't say always, because here I'm going on to the next pattern paper that is not double-sided. This is the Regal Distressed Patterns. I've got a nice geometric there. This is not two-sided. So no dilemma there on what side to use. We're using that Cherry Cobbler and gold paper. And then I have also a small piece of gold foil. For my cardstock, this card has a basic beige card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5. I have a panel that is 5.5 by 2 3/4, and another scrap to create a label on. For the insert, I have Very Vanilla. It's 4 by 5 1/4, and then I have a scrap of Very Vanilla for my stamping and die cutting. So let me push some of these things out of the way so I have some space to work. And I'm going to pull out my basic beige. I'm going to move these things here. We're going to do our scoring. We're going to create our card base, and then we're going to do some layering. So here we go. I'm on the long side, which is 8.5. I am going to bring in my paper trimmer. You could use the scoring tool as well. I like to use just my trimmer. And let's see, I have a dilemma here. I am going to extend that ruler because I need to go all the way to 6 1/4. On the long side, here we go, 4.5, which is the standard score on the 5.5 by 8 card. So I'm going to score that down, 4 1/4. I'm going to push to 5 1/4. We are creating a specialty fun fold using the Artful Amaryllis. I'm going to go up to 6 3/4. and I am done scoring. Now let's make sure. Yep. All right. I just wanted to make sure I could see those scores. I'm going to bring in my bone folder, and we are going to start off by folding the card in half, 4 1/4. I am going to use my bone folder to burnish that down. Then on the 5 1/4 score, I'm going to fold it out and burnish that down. Okay, I'm going to bring that back, and then on the 6 3/4 score, I'm also going to fold that out or back. So there we go. So there you can see it's already coming together. It's that easy. There's what the fold and burnish looks like. So that enables the card to stand freely without any support. So step number 2, and by the way, we're going to get this card done in 13 steps, and that includes the decorating. Step number 2, we're going to open this card base, and we are going to bring in the panel layer, which is 5 1/2 by 2 3/4, and we're going to adhere it to the first score, the first rectangle. So I do not want to put any adhesive on the portion that's not going to stick down. So you can see there's going to be an exposed area. I don't want any sticky there. So what I like to do in that case is put the adhesive onto the rectangle where I do want the adhesive, and you could use any flat adhesive. I would use my liquid glue. I know lots of crafters like the Seal or Seal Plus, which is perfect as well, probably a little bit less messy, but if you've ever seen me craft, you might know that the Seal and I do not get along, and I'm sure it's my part. I'm not patient with it, but when you don't get along, it's hard to keep coming back, right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this. Whoops, I put a little bit of adhesive on my finger. I'm going to align this right up to the edge, and you could use a tool or just the tabletop to help you make sure that you're right there flat on all sides. You want to do your best to have that right on spot, and burnish that down so you have a nice tight seal. All right, there we go. So we are constructing the card base, and you're going to see how it folds down. So that's standard card size for our standard envelopes, so no extra postage in mailing this. Next, we are going to stick the insert onto the cards. So my insert happens to be very vanilla, and it measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I'm going to have a little bit of a border. And again, flat adhesive. Now, normally I would say stamp first, then stick. However, we need to align this greeting on the interior with the space that we're going to have available, because we're not going to have the full 4 inches available, and I want to center the greeting. So we are going to be crossing our fingers, holding our breath, making sure we're hoping for the best when we stamp down. All right, so next I'm putting these down because I want to have the visual, so I know that my pattern paper is aligned. Sometimes when you just start sticking, you might be off just a smidge, and it's not critical by any means. I'm going to burnish that down so I'm nice and flat. It is not critical because it's a handmade card. So next I'm going to bring in my distressed paper. This is the cherry cobbler, and the only thing I want to add on this is these were cut from the same piece that measures 5 1/4, and I want to make sure that I haven't rearranged them. In other words, I didn't flip one and the other, because you know I did a pretty good job in cutting these right center, but you might have like a portion of one of the squares at one end and not even at the other. You want to make sure they're still going in the same direction the original paper was. So I am going to start by adhering the center panel, which measures 5 1/4 by 2 1/2. So I'm going to have a 1/4 or an 1/8 inch border. So right now we're just prepping the card base for this freestanding fun fold Christmas card featuring the Artful Amaryllis, and I'm going to push that down, an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And what I'm looking for is to make sure that I have my border aligned up here with that insert and down at the bottom. So I'm going to push down just the tiniest bit. And this is why I love the liquid glue. It's very forgiving. It gives me an opportunity to tweak it just a tiny bit. Now, you can guess where the next layers go. They're going to be peeking out the side. I am going to add that this 3/4 inch layer is abutted right to the edge of the insert. So we will not see any of the insert when the card is closed, only when it's open. And we're going to be gluing down part of the card front as well. All right, so let's see. And for the adhesive, I'm using the narrow tip, and I'm not putting a lot because too much liquid glue can give you a sticky mess. And I am going to put this right up. This one's easy to do because I'm going to go right to the edge of the insert on all sides. No border, flush to the edge. Now you can see I've got a nice line going all the way across. This is going to be the trickier one. I want to make sure that I have the right borders. I just don't want it to be uneven at the top or the bottom. And so it's nice to have the other pieces in place. And again, just a little bit of adhesive. And sometimes when I put my glue bottle down, it starts to clot up. It is a rather new bottle, but okay, so now I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to have about an 1/8 of an inch border on the side. And then when I fold down, oh, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and press down and burnish. All right, so I have adhered the cherry cobbler. Next, we are going to work on the next layer. So we have our card base coming together. I'm going to let that stick, and I'm going to push that out of this side, and I'm going to bring in the gold foil. Now, I love to be resourceful. I'm going to show you my card. I'll show you, I have 2 areas that have the gold foil. I have a border around this layer, this very vanilla layer, and then I have that open circle right here. And we don't see anything in the center here from that gold foil, so I'm going to be resourceful and cut my circle from the middle of the gold foil. This is a small piece, so I'm going to use my mini. A typical sandwich. I like to use my number 3 platform. And then I need a number 2 cutting pad. And then I'm going to put my gold foil. And I've got my dies that I need. I have my little magnetic catch-all here. And I am using the Spotlight in Nature. I love this little die with these little splashes. And then the inside one's not going to matter because we're just going to cut away the center. So you have a choice of 2 different 1 1/8 inch circles. There's this dash, and then there's also a ridged choice. Choose whichever one you like. You're going to have it left over for another project. You're not going to need it for this project, but we are creating an open circle. So the only one we're going to want is that exterior circle, just like so. I do want that pretty neat, so I'm going to bring in a little piece of my Post-it tape to hold the circles in place. Normally when I'm die cutting, it's like the strategy is just hold your breath and hope for the best. I don't always tape down, but this one I want a nice circle there. And you know what? I'm going to do one more thing. Let me grab my next layer. All right, so what I went and grabbed from my other desk is just some wax paper, and I'll tell you why. Because when I'm cutting pretty foil paper, if my plates have all those nicks and scratches, it transfers onto the foil paper. By putting that layer of wax paper in there, it kind of protects the surface, and it should come out nice and pretty, just like it went in. And of course, I'm gonna say a little prayer that that's the case. I don't want to be showing you a trick and then it not work out. But there we go. So you can see it has a little bit of scuffiness to it. That's just what I'll call it. But overall, it's better than it would have been without. And I'm going to bring up the dies, put those to the side. This we can use for another project. This is the one I want, and I'm just going to kick out those little pieces. And then I'll clear away my desktop. And I just love this little open circle with that decorative edge. What do you think? So, and you get an extra piece here. I better take your pick tool away. So how's it looking, everybody? You think it's okay? Next, I'm gonna add my layer to this foil, and that season of gold and green is the piece I want, and I want those pretty little stars. And because this is gold foil, I don't want to put liquid glue on here because it has a tendency to get messy that way, and you can kind of see the residual of the glue. So what I do use, another one of my favorite adhesive, the mini glue dots. I'm just going to put a few little glue dots behind the pattern paper, and there we go. You see, I don't actually touch the glue dot because just like the seal, the glue dot's going to win. So don't touch it. Try to keep your hands away or use a tool. So, all right, now my border, my gold foil border is going to be very slight. I would say it's like 1/16 of an inch because the gold foil was cut just 1/8 of an inch larger than the season of gold and green. By the way, that season of gold and green is not a friendly number. It's at, let me tell you, it is 1 7/8 by 4 5/8. I know a lot of people struggle with the eighths, but I do like just that smidge of gold showing. I didn't want anything too flashy. So I'm going to set this aside for the time being, and we're going to go on to the next step. I am going to do some stamping now. I'm going to bring in my Very Vanilla. And before I do that, I'm going to put a cap on my glue. I won't be needing that for just a few minutes. And I'm going to put my gold up to the upper right in case it gets lost. You can remind me where I put it. Let me take a little sip of water. Yep, it's water today. No cocktail, no coffee, just water. Okay, I'm gonna bring in my pads, and I gave you my color scheme at the beginning. I'm using Pebbled Path as my neutral instead of black. I'm using Real Red and Old Olive. Now, I know my designer series paper is Cherry Cobbler, but I found that with this particular stamp set, the Cherry Cobbler will stamp up too dark. I like the Real Red instead. So let's see where my stamps are. Let me bring them in. Put my other piece there, and I'm going to start with the outline. The beautiful flower with the couple leaves and those two flowers, absolutely gorgeous. The outline is stamped in Pebbled Path. It is a larger stamp, and by the way, it is on block E. And I mentioned that because I like to have the best sized block. Sometimes you try to economize and use a bigger block so you don't have to buy as many, but that could backfire on you, and I'm going to show you why. Yeah, I speak from experience. Okay, so I'm going to stamp once. This is Pebbled Path. It's the outline, and I'm going to stamp twice. I want two flowers. So, anybody have this Artful Amaryllis bundle? I'm going to confess, it was not on my first list. It wasn't in my first cart. the catalog was out for a while before I decided I wanted it. And now I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm glad I got it. All right, so next I'm going to do my two-step stamping. I'm going to bring in there's something sticky down here. I found it. I found it. All right, and I'm going to bring in this little chipboard to help me out. I'm going to stamp the flowers, and I'm going to be stamping off for one of them. So this is real red. This is a distinctive stamp. I'm going to stamp down, and then I'm going to stamp my flower. So alignment is important. You want to be able to see through and make sure that you're putting the fill in the right spot. Although, having said that, it's a handmade card. So no fretting if it's not perfect, and I kind of like that. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Like I either blended it to color or watercolored it. I think these distinctive stamps are so stunning when they stamp up. And I'm going to do the second one full force. So I'll have a darker flower and a lighter flower, and kind of like how nature plays, right? There we go. Again, absolutely gorgeous, and it's not difficult to line up because they are photopolymer stamps. The next thing I'm going to stamp is my fill for the leaves, and for that I'm using Old Olive. And I think I like the color combo. It's very traditional for Christmas. I'm going to start with the two little leaves. This is on block A, I believe, yeah. I'm not sure, do we still have block A? Stampin' Up! Removed some of the acrylic blocks from the selection. I guess they weren't big sellers. And I'm thankful that I have my complete set, in fact, multiples, because as I said, I like the right block size. And there. Then I have the stamp for the stem and the two tall leaves. And again, just looking through the stamp for placement. I think the two-step stamping is my favorite way to color. I love colored pencils. I love watercoloring with just drops of the ink. The blends I do quickly, so I'm not an artist with the blends, but they do make it easy for coloring. There we go. So I have my two Amaryllis. I am going to be die cutting them, but since I have my inks out, let me do my other stamping. And that is going to be in red. So let me put this to the side. I'm going to bring in, let's see, I'm done with my pebbled path. So I'm going to close that up so I don't get messy. And how am I doing on time here? Oh my gosh, I said 45 minutes, right? But I was talking for a few minutes, so that doesn't count, right? All right, the sentiment comes from Peaceful Seasons, a season of wonder and happiness. That's what I'm using right there. Photopolymer stamp block H. Again, I'm not certain. I should find out for you before I use them so you know. This paper is like 3 inches wide. I'm going to stamp up towards the top. It's going to be trimmed down to 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to be punching the edges to make a pretty edge. Now I'm going to do my interior greeting as well. And here's where I'm talking about the right size block. This is block C. Again, hopefully that one's still available. What happened on my original, I used my block D, which is typically my go-to size, but look what happened. There's a smudge in there. And because the block is so much bigger than the stamp, I got ink off to the side, and when I went to stamp down, that pressed onto the ink and got that cardstock. First a little splatter, and then when I closed the card, it smudged. So all that to say, I like the right-sized blocks. Okay, so this one is the interior greeting that comes in the Artful Amaryllis stamp set. It says, wishing you a Bright and Beautiful Christmas. And what I'm doing, we are going to be gluing down that 1 inch, I don't know, panel, and we're going to be folding back. So we have a more narrow writing space for our message. So I want to center it going across here. This is probably about 2.5 inches across. And this is where I'm going to put my interior message. I am going to go high. That way we can write a quick personal greeting on the card. Pressing down firmly. And look at that. It's beautiful and no extra smudge. So go for the right size block. All right, so now I'm done with my stamping. I think I need to do a little bit of die cutting. Need to cut those amaryllises. And again, I'm going to use the mini. I'm going to bring in my platform end pads. Flip it over. And again, just because I'm on camera, I don't want to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to use Post-it notes or Post-it tape and position that in place and secure it down. Crank it through. Here we go. So easy, and it fits on the mini easily. All right, so let's go here. Let's take out one die cut. There we go. So there's one. Look at that. So pretty. I love this flower. I love this stamp set. And then this one's going to be a little bit bolder because I went full force on the inking. Right through there. So I did a trial with 2 different colors of ink, actually a couple different colors of ink. I already mentioned the cherry cobbler versus the real red. I would go with the real red. And then on the green also, I tried another one of my favorite greens, the Mossy Meadow, and did not like that result. So I'm back with Old Olive, which is probably my favorite green. Old Olive and red. You can't beat that color scheme, right? On Very Vanilla. And I stocked up on my Very Vanilla envelopes when they went on the clearance rack recently. And I was going to check to see if there were any more available. I doubt it because those are like a great staple to have. But you never know what's going to be on the clearance rack. So give it a look. There we go. We have 2 amaryllis flowers. I'm going to put my die back here. And I'm going to chop this down to 3/4 of an inch. Let me get my mini chopper. Bring this in, flip it around, let's see. And hopefully that's about right there. And this is on basic beige, same as the card base color. Now I'm going to edge the label using my what is it called? It's the Happy Labels Pick a Punch. Okay, just so you know, Happy Labels Pick a Punch. And the reason I say that is because if you go shopping looking for these things, if you don't know the name, sometimes it's hard to find it online. Now you have a choice, right? That's why it's called Pick a Label. I want that little, sort of like a scallop, I guess. That's would be my, and then the other one is more like a ticket punch. So I'm going to punch that down. Look at that, how sweet that edge comes up. And then I'm going to do both sides, making sure I'm on the right punch. There we go. So sweet. Nice little edge. Sorry about that. And I'll push this aside. All right. So we have most of our things ready. I'm going to bring back in my matted layer. And I'm going to stick my amaryllis down. I'm going to kind of lay it out before I do any final adhering. So this is going to go on the card front around here. Not going to stick it down yet because we're going to be wrapping ribbon around this. And I want to bring this back flower in. And again, I'm going to lay this in position before I start adhering. The bottom one's going to be like so. So I kind of want to have an idea of where I want everything. Maybe tilt that just a little bit and then tilt that. The stem, I think I want it a little bit more there, because I'm going to bring this circle in here, tuck it behind one of the petals here so that it's aligned almost to the edge of the red. So I'm going to look at my reference card and see what I did. And I am on top of the green but behind one of the petals. So that's as far back as I can go. Bringing that over here. Now you might wonder how you get things to stick. I'm going to show you my trick of what I like to do. Now I'm going to bring in a block and hold this down. Whoops, I just tipped over my tools. And hold this down so they don't move, right? And this back layer, I'm going to hold it in position with a couple of mini glue dots. And I'm going to bring in my take your pick tool. Highly recommended, because remember, you don't want to touch the mini glue dots. Now I'm just going to lift this back, stick it down. The back flower goes down flat, and I'm going to hold that in position there. And then the front layer is going to go in with dimensionals, and I have those here. But I'm going to be strategic about where I place them. So I'm going to put one down here. And I'm going to grab another. And this one goes on this side. See how helpful that block is there? It adds weight. And I am not going to put a dimensional at the bottom of the stem because I don't want it thick there. I'm going to have a bow down there, and I'm always conscious of how thick my card is getting. Now I'm not going to add that yet. I know I fussed with the placement, but what I'm going to do is tie, whoops, I have my mini glue dot back there. I'm going to bring in my ribbon, and this is the gold and silver 1/8 inch trim combo, and I'm using the gold, about 14 inches of it. And I know that I'm going to need a mini glue dot when I tie my bows. Instead of struggling trying to keep everything in place, I use a mini glue dot right here. I almost lost it. It was right at my left hand. And I'm going to be ready with it on my take your pick tool. So putting that there, putting that aside. This is going to go up about 1 1/4 inch above. And I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to be tying a little bow, so I need a good length. And I say I used about 14 inches. Maybe you could go with a little bit less, and you're not wasting too much of the ribbon. Again, I'm going to look for my block to help me out here. And I'm going to create my little tie all the way to the left. And I want to be a little bit higher, maybe there. And to help me tie my bow, now I'm going to hold that down. And here's where I'm going to put my glue dot to help me out. Pushing down, there we go. Now I don't have to struggle trying to keep that in place because ribbon tends to move, and I can move my block, create my little bow. And I know I'm going to have extra ribbon. That's just, I tried to make it easier for myself. You might be able to go directly from the bolt of ribbon so that you don't waste so much. But there we go. Now, this is going to be put in place here. Let me bring this back. Sorry if I crossed in front of you. And I'm going to kind of gauge where this goes. So I want it to be within the DSP border, and then I'm going to bring in my label, which is going to go around here. And notice how I have the edge to the edge there. So I'm pretty happy with that placement. I'm ready to finalize it. And again, I'm going to help myself out by putting my adhesive down. That's where the label gets stuck. And then my little gold circle is not yet attached. So what I'm going to do is get a glue dot. Actually, I'm going to use a couple of glue dots and slip it right behind. So right back here, hold that in place. And as you're noticing, I have an adhesive for every purpose. I have my favorites, my go-to, and I can move this off now. But I'm using the liquid adhesive, the mini glue dots, the Tombow, all kinds of adhesive. There we go. So I'm going to be tweaking that bow. Oh, thank you, Corinne. Corinne said pretty card. I love these amaryllises. I think they're gorgeous. Now this layer goes back flat. So now I'm ready to add. And you can see where I snag that circle. It's not shown. That way you're not using all your gold foil, because you just want a little pop of gold, right? All right, there. And I don't want to be messy. Okay, so now this is going to be positioned kind of centered, so I have an equal border all the way around. And press and burnish and all that good stuff. We're coming along. We're almost done, and we're going to be done before the start of the game, which starts at 5:08. Okay, now we're not done yet, right? Let me fuss with the bow just a little bit, and I also might want to secure it down a little bit more. It's kind of floppy, and if I take just a portion of the dimensional, that'll be a little bit helpful. So let me lift. I'm going to push that there, press that into position, and tweak it. Okay, let me trim off the long ends, and I need my ribbon scissors. You know, I used to have a small pair of ribbon scissors, and they have disappeared. Don't know where they are, so I'm using these huge now. Yes, I could tie a little fake bow with those trimmings. You and I think alike, Corinne. I love being resourceful, economizing with all these pretty embellishments. So there you go, but we're not done yet, right? My embellishment for this card is again gold, and I'm using the adhesive back metallic gems. And I'm going to put 3 using my take your pick. I'm going to start off with the bigger one. So these come with copper, gold, silver, very cool set. And I'm going to start one at the bottom, form that little triangle, and come up and pick 2 of the gold tone up at the top. And there you go. So there is my Artful Amaryllis Specialty Fun Fold card using the beautiful distinctive stamp set with a hint of gold here and there, and 2 different designer series papers. I think they are very traditional colors with a traditional feel to the cards. I hope that you like week 2. And as I said at the beginning, I'm giving you the projects that take a little bit more time, a few more steps, early in the season so that we can get started creating now. As we get closer to the date, I'll give you simpler projects that you can do in less time, but right now I think we still have time for some special projects. This one is the special fun fold that will stand freely on the desk or mantle and still fit in the standard size envelope to mail. And it's not too thick. You might get away with standard postage here in the US. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. I absolutely adore this Artful Amaryllis set. I hope you'll have a look at it. Don't forget about the kit sale that's going on, and also take a peek at my wintry treetops card kit of the month. I hope you will join me in stamping. I will be back next week for week 3. I will see you then. Have a great weekend, friends.